Hello, everybody. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I'm Andy Signore. We've been live over on Twitch. And I put out a call for Snyder fans. I wanted Snyder fans. They've been hammering me all day long on Twitter, coming at me with the lowest blows you can think of. I've gotten the worst you can think of. Look, I got some people who weren't that bad, and some people were sort of calling some of them out, but the majority of the people who were coming at me for my article about Zack Snyder were hitting hard. And we actually had a few call in, and one in particular who I had to mute and block. I'm so done giving this person any attention over the Twitch stream. You can see all those fights and conversations and the lack of people coming on to talk over in the members-only section here on YouTube. I put my archive a lot of the Twitch streams, the good ones, over there. So if you remember, you can go back, watch that later, enjoy it, etc. You can also try and find it on Twitch, but the archive there is weird. But as we were talking at the very end, and Jody was here for 4 hours and had to split, but we were talking, Jody and I, and we met this fella named Garza, who I wasn't familiar with. And then as some of my viewers and people in the chat, and I looked up, Garza's out there doing his own sort of investigations and podcasts and things, and he had some insight on the Snyder Cut, and he came about it civilly. He came about it and was very fascinating. So I wanted to, rather than share the drama, share the fights, which you can see on the members section, I'm done trying to encourage this hatred. I wanted to share the civil moment with Garza because Garza was dropping some interesting insight that could adjust the scoop I had. We'll see. I can't vouch for what he's saying, but I can hear him, and I can see why that might be why there are some conflicting reports out there. So Garza, thank you for coming in. How you doing, man? Thanks for stopping by the stream and jumping in.
First off, thank you for at least accepting it, because I know that I kept getting all these dings, and I kept getting all these notifications like, hey, you gotta go join, you gotta go do this, you gotta go talk, and I was like, all right, I was working out, so I was like, I'm not gonna just go on there right now. I'm working out and all that, but
I mean, come on, you're such a stereotypical Snyder fan if you're out working out, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I try to, but
clearly, and I'm not. No. We know. So, but anyway, so yes, you got pinged like defend our honor, and you decided to come in.
It was almost like they started telling me like all these people that were on. Unfortunately and fortunately, there's a lot of loudmouth people that, for whatever reason, they feel like their honor is to just defend Zack and do it in the most blatantly ignorant type of way.
Yep.
Where it's if they don't have the information, or if you're not speaking the right information, they're going to attack you. Like they're not asking questions. They're just going, no, you're wrong, without going, well, prove me wrong. Then I don't have an issue with anybody proving me wrong. And I've said that ever since I started doing all this. Like, please, if I'm wrong, that means it's great, because whatever I'm writing about or whatever I'm finding out is not correct. But that means that we're going to find out the truth.
Yep.
It'd be one thing if I was speaking on things and all the stuff that I was talking about was false and completely made up, but almost every single thing that I've ever talked about is factual, and it's taken some time, and I think unfortunately, just like what you experienced, I mean, there's a lot of loudmouth people that are ignorant, and all they want to do is, because they can't embarrass you, I guess, with whatever, they're fuck it, they don't care. And for me, it's more like, look, I mean, I try to like avoid all this stuff, because unfortunately, those same people that were attacking you about the Snyder Cut, they've all attacked me, and I've gotten it, and I'm like, dude, I'm over it. Like, I don't care.
Right.
All
Ignore
these, they want to attack me, and I'm on their side. So.
Yeah, and that's what's frustrating, because I feel like I'm trying to be on their side too. It's like, but the reality is, so let's get to the thing you added to my report. So when I did my report, just to clarify the report, there's really 3 things I guess I reported, most of which has been out there if you really understand it, because even Zack has admitted it's not finished. It's not finished. It still needs work to be done. But the story I've been told is that Warner Brothers did take a meeting. He wanted $20 million. They said no. And then beyond that, Warner Brothers has just been fed up with him, and him, as it was quoted, like his fans bullying them to sort of get it out, was something they didn't like, and they don't want to give in to that demand, and they're not a fan, of the way Snyder's sort of been lying, saying it's done when it's not. So those are sort of the first sort of main points. But then, beyond that, they're saying it's never coming out. Like Warner Brothers has said, we're not going to do anything with Snyder. We're not putting it out there. And it's definitely not coming out in HBO Max anytime soon. So those were all the things I heard. So it sounds like, based off what you said, the things I reported could still be true, but you had some more intel. Go ahead and share your sort of version of things.
So before I even go in that, what I will say as far as Warner Brothers being upset or doing all that, for me, and not to get too personal, because I don't feel like
Oh, whoa,
I
hold
don't
on.
need
We
it.
got a $25 donation.
Andy, love that you are
Oh,
doing more
I
and more
appreciate
shows
that.
on Twitch streaming.
Um,
Always bring
so
great content.
Thank you, Dewey Ray
basically,
Forward. Sorry, he interrupted us, but I got to do it. They pay the
no, you're
bills.
fine.
But sorry, now
Hey, I
let's
appreciate
hear
it.
your scoop. Go ahead.
So before I get into too much personal stuff, I will admit that unfortunately, me and Zach do share a common thread. Him and I have both lost a child, and it's something that you don't ever wish upon anybody. So knowing that he went through that, and things still were planning out as far as Warner Brothers still treating him the way they treated him, I will sit there and say, I they allowed all of this stuff to happen. Warner Brothers did, right? I mean, they didn't have to keep pressuring him to change his film. They didn't have to keep pressuring him to do all this
They didn't
stuff.
have to bring in
He
Joss
was
Whedon
still
during that tragedy. Agreed. I'm
you're
with
right.
you, man. I don't think Warner
And so,
Brothers is completely in the wrong. I mean, the right rather.
well, exactly. So, right. And so that's what I mean by when I know that they're probably fed up, but that's just the kind of power that they've basically severed and kind of went. I mean, how much money has his films made for them? You know what I mean? And for them to go, or for them to allow, and I say them, we don't know who all was involved, but we do know that there were some parties that aren't involved anymore with Warner Brothers. And so when you look at all that stuff happen, and the I get what you're saying as far as Warner Brothers doesn't want it. You're absolutely right. They probably do not want this film to come out, specifically because it's going to be a million times better than what was released and what they allowed to get released.
Yeah, well, the fans,
Unfortunately,
and
that's just the
yeah,
truth.
the fans will love it. So even if it doesn't matter if the commercial public does, because the fans will love it so much, and they'll come in droves that's going to drive subscriptions potentially too. So I always thought, well, why not? But yeah, we're on the same page. Warner Brothers is just fed up,
Yeah,
not having it. They're moving on. But so let's
but
get so you.
and
But so
here's the difference, though.
there's a
This is the
workaround.
diversion. Yeah, so here's the difference. Warner Brothers can be pissy all they want. They have a brother involved with this, and it's a little bit of Cain and Abel right now because with Warner Media, they have their own budget. They have their own stuff specifically for streaming and HBO Max. That is their end goal. That is it. That's all they care about. Well, if you were to release, or if let's just say HBO Max released today early, what are they going to have to get anybody to subscribe as far as new content, right? There's nothing. I mean,
Friends,
there's nothing, absolutely
the
nothing.
Friends reunion that they're not even shooting. Right. No, they have a pretty
Right.
big. Let's be honest though, they have a pretty big. Warner Brothers has a pretty big library. It's
Absolutely.
so
They do. They have amazing films. But so does Disney. Disney has a bunch of amazing films, and if they wouldn't have had The Mandalorian,
it's true. They need
I
that big
mean,
showpiece.
yeah, you need something to draw anybody. Just it doesn't matter for how long it's going to be or whatever. You just need something to drive subscriptions because unfortunately Netflix is I mean it is gone as far as original content. And HBO Max, even if the only thing they have is literally HBO shows. Well, Westworld's playing right now. That's it. There's nothing else. Nothing else coming out that's massive except for Game of Thrones. So my whole point is Warner Media needs something to drive that. Well, there is a film that's literally a 3 hour plus long film sitting there that's going, hey, I mean, we only need 30, 40 million to complete it. I guarantee you, if we were to drop it on HBO Max, people are going to want to see it. Even the people that hate Zach are going to want to see it. And it just, in my head, that's the only logical thing that they could do, specifically because there's nothing in production right now. They're not going to have any new shows.
Right, and
And
you're
so
saying there's
what
even
is
more.
happening?
You're saying there's even more that they could shoot or stretch it out to then turn it into more of a miniseries, which is an interesting premise as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think that if you were to look at this from this standpoint, you got to remember that if I wanted to go, Mandalorian, I get it. I love that show. I love that. I love the entire premise of the Mandalorian. But that's also still that's canon, but it's not canon as far as Star Wars Episode 9. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine, and I don't think that this is going to be the route they go, but Warner Brothers and as far as HBO Max would be the first driver in that seat if any big IP were to come out and say this is canonical, whether it's an Elseworld film or whether it's an Elseworld series, it doesn't matter. It's still canonical that Justice League happened on whatever Earth it happened, and it's still happening, and it's this Elseworld series. There's still a film that's going to come out. There's still Flash that's going to come and redo things. That's great. Who, at the end of the day, who cares? Because he's going to reverse and he's going to change things anyways. But there's not a big time IP that is released. If they would have, let's say they released Trevorrow's episode 9 on Disney Plus, you're telling me that nobody would want to join up and see that film?
Well, no, I hear you. I agree with everything you're saying. I support it, actually. I think it's a cool idea. But here's my problem with it. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, and AT&T couldn't be swooping in, and still Warner Brothers is like, no, no, no. Hence why I'm hearing that from reps there. But we could have some sort of behind-the-scenes dealing with AT&T. They're like, well, wait, hold on. Let's talk about what could we do. What's it going to cost? But the reality, though, to me, is if they're going to do it with the cast, it's going to cost more than 30. The cast alone is going to increase that cost by a ton because those streaming deals they're hard because you got to pay them out, right? There's no sort of union rights usually, and then on top of that, you're going to have some sort of Warner Brothers DC, fight back to say, well, wait, no, we don't want an Elseworlds thing because we're building this one through the Flash, and that makes no sense. There's going to be a conflict there, creative conflict of interest at a certain point, and another higher budget line that I do worry makes this still a little bit more unrealistic. What do you say to that?
So I would think that they basically gave up any kind of Elseworld confusion when they put Ezra Miller on the CW Flash. When they did that, that to me was me. Getting told, okay, those are literally the same Flashes. One's in TV, one's in the films, one's in a film that's not even in production yet, but is in the Justice League. Okay, well, if viewers, and by the way, I don't watch the CW Flash. Obviously I was told and I saw all of the stuff that happened with that, and it was trending and doing all this stuff, and it was that popular, and it was just one little cameo that was in that series of an Elseworld. Oh, okay, that really happened. Well, if HBO was going to do anything, imagine them taking that Justice League. They don't remember the assembly cut was 5 hours. That's assembly cut. Okay.
Yeah.
Almost 5 hours long. If they truly wanted to, they could stretch that out into a series. They could break it up into 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Really.
If it's good. If it's good.
But here's the thing, though. I know for a fact that Snyder shot things the way he wanted to shoot them, and then he shot things the way he knew the studio wanted to shoot them. And you can pretty much guess what versions they used when it came to the Justice League that we got in theaters, unfortunately. And so all of his footage that he still has. It's still there. And it was getting worked on until, unfortunately, he stepped away, which was in May. Now, keep in mind, he ended production in October. So he had about almost, roughly 6 months of post-production work under his belt. And then they stopped. They probably would have finished it maybe midsummer. So you're talking about maybe another month and a half, 2 months left of work. And then they decided to reshoot the entire thing. And that right there is just imagine AT&T coming in, looking at that, going, "You guys spent $300 million on that?
Yeah.
Why?" There's reasons why Jeff Johns isn't there, John Berg's not there, Diane Nelson's not there, Sujihara definitely isn't there, and why Emmerich is literally on his last leg. Don't be surprised if Emmerich basically gets the can, I would say probably within the next 6 months, because he's the last person that was involved in that entire situation that basically, if they were to release, let's just assume Warner Brothers says, all right, fine, we'll release it. He's the last person that would technically have any kind of reason to go, no, you're basically, if you were to release that, you're telling me I did a wrong thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, look, I think all of this is interesting. It's still, I still can't, I have a hard time believing it's a sure thing, but I do think it's a path that could be pursued, and I don't doubt maybe even be having a conversation of. And I didn't have a contact through the AT&T side. I did have a contact. I spoke to sources close to HBO Max, and I know they say there's no deal in place. that doesn't mean there couldn't still be one sort of through the AT&T side of things division. So that would make a lot of sense and understand why there seem to be two conflicting camps of sources and information, right? Because one's like, no, it's never had to, but then there's one there's like, well, no, he's still trying to figure it out. So the reality though is that it could still fall apart in a way because someone could come in and shift. Obviously with the outbreak right now and everything going on, it's delaying things if anything was happening. And you said Netflix series, so there's still a lot of what ifs that are happening. But I can see how this might at least keep it alive, a prospect of it with him doing a version. But I don't know. I still think he's gonna have to run into trouble with whoever's in charge at the time and sort of trying to creatively get everyone on board while they're trying to reboot Justice League if they do, which is the plan I heard through the Flash. That this is
Right.
this could be complicated, but. Look, what I love about this conversation is we're having a conversation. We're having a civil conversation. A Snyder fan talking to me, pitching me something to say why I might not have the correct information, and doing it in a way that I'm like, you know what? I'll listen to that. That's an interesting idea. And I respect the hell out of your sort of coming on here, whether it's right or wrong. Again, this is all Garza's scoops. But he's not coming at me saying I'm an idiot or all my stuff's false or that I'm wrong and how dare I disrespect Snyder. I'm not. Look, I'm sharing what the messenger is. Warner Brothers isn't happy with him, and to be fair, as I've said multiple times, Snyder shouldn't be happy with them either, and the fans should be mad at Warner Brothers based off how they treated him. That doesn't mean it's not a reality that Warner Brothers wants this done over and done with and want him to shut up. But I understand why he wants to sort of fight back.
I'll use this as an example, and I don't really mean to highlight it that much, but I will say this, right? I mean, when has Snyder ever spoken out against anything that has been involved with Justice League? I mean, like literally gone, hey, they didn't do this or they didn't do that, right? It's never really happened. I mean, he's never been actively like, hey, Warner Brothers really screwed me over. Okay, now I'm gonna pivot, and again, I'm not trying to highlight this, and I'm not saying this is bad, but this is still the difference, right? David Ayer, he got really messed up with his film Suicide Squad. And literally just a few weeks ago, or maybe like a week ago, he had admitted that, you know what, he didn't get to do what he wanted to do with that film. And unfortunately, there's some things that happened, and he was kind of having to explain himself about the whole Suicide Squad situation. And yet Zack has never once explained Justice League. He's never once come out and said, they did this or they did that, and this is why I have to do anything. And
right.
So
instead, he's shown sort of the images and things of his vision without sort of having to throw the shade at them. And
correct.
Yeah, that it's smart on his part, but still.
But the reason why that's important is because he wouldn't be doing that. And I'm speaking as far as, I like to mention that, I have sources, but I also have, my own thoughts. It's not like I'm speaking on behalf of anybody at this point.
We're speculating at this point. Go ahead.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm speculating. I'm not trying to say I know for a fact, but he's not the kind of person that, and I mean this as I kind of know him, not on a personal level, but I do know him. He wouldn't be doing this specifically. He wouldn't be doing the whole November 17th if he wasn't trying to make a point or prove something on why he was going to be doing anything. And because the fact that all of that stuff went down, the fact that he got Gal Gadot and Ben Affleck to tweet about the release of Snyder Cut, that is, I mean, I know it's silly to think of social media being that big of an indicator, but that is massive. And
I mean, sure, you're right, but it's also friends looking out for friends. Like, it's a release. It was the anniversary of the movie. Why not?
When have they ever said release the Snyder Cut? They have basically said we need to see the Snyder Cut. I mean, that's what that
look, I'm not trying to dispute that, but that to me doesn't prove that it's real. Now, you're making a good point that it's like. You make a good point that it does at least it puts them on the well, they're clearly doing it for a reason. But I still think that reason is to support Zack. Now Zack might have said, "Hey, I got a deal going on. I would really be grateful if you pump this out there." And they're like, "Of course." Like I that seems very realistic to me.
And I'm going to say this. So your reporting of him not getting that, I'm confident that if I'm thinking about it correctly, this is how it lines up. That situation happened before November 17th. And then November 17th happened. And then AT&T talked to him. You get what I'm saying?
Sure.
That's what I think happened, and that's the reason why that situation happened the way it did. And since then, now he's okay, he's good. That's the whole reason why after that, there really hasn't been that much. There hasn't been any kind of announcement. There hasn't been anything because, and truthfully, he even brought out that what was it, the clapper, where he's talking about a hypothetical extra scene.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's obviously him. Yeah, that's him joking, saying, "Yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing." That's
But
great.
see,
I mean,
but
I
that
think that's awesome.
I think all of that teasing isn't actually helping the cause if he really has a deal in place. You know what I mean? Like, I do.
Well,
I do think it's like
he has. I think he has a deal in place, but at the same time, I mean, for him to get an estimate or a realistic budget of how much it's going to cost, he probably doesn't know that right now because he's so focused on the Army. I mean, how could you? I mean, you're talking about pre-production of a film that's already been finished. Like not you, but I just mean like planning. I mean, that's essentially what he'd have to be doing because it's been 4 years, almost 5 years since he was involved with all that.
yeah.
You don't just go, oh yeah, let's go ahead and look at the old budgets and we'll base it off of that. No, you got to look at it literally as a completely new, different pre-production process because you're going to be hiring new visual effects artists. You're going to be rehiring, anybody that's involved. You're going to have to rehire them, and it's going to start from scratch. You can't sit there and go, oh well, you already were, hired. And I know you finished on whatever the reshoots were involved, but that'll count, so you'll have to work for me for free. No, they're gonna. I mean, it's like a pre-production of a new movie. It just so happens that basically 90% of it is shot already
Yeah.
and worked on, so that's great. But there's still going to be some issues. Okay, well, who do we pay as far as any kind of, let's say, if any, do you pay, let's say, the people that were in the reshoots and only the reshoots? Do you repay them because this Justice League film's coming out?
I mean,
You know what I mean?
But some of those union contracts, if they stretch it out to an 8-part series, it could change, into streaming. It could change the rights
Right.
and the union. So that's where I say it's going to be costly. It's going to be complicated. And to be fair, AT&T has a lot of money, so it's not like it's impossible.
And they need the subscribers. But what I was actually leading to was imagine something like Justice League being set up as far as seeing Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman on basically a television series as HBO Max.
But
if
you
anybody
think
was going to do that,
you think Affleck's going to do that? Come on.
well, no. I mean, as far as Justice League one, I don't know about the continuing, but you got to remember, Watchmen. You think of Ozymandias. What's his name? Jeremy Irons. He basically spent 2 weeks filming that entire series. They shot all that stuff in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You're telling me Affleck wouldn't be able to get in shape and shoot something for a month, and that's it?
It's a
And
lot.
You're talking about it.
It's a lot to ask, especially
Finish?
given like his comments on not wanting to go back to that whole world. It's a long shot.
Oh no, I get that part, and I completely understand. But that's me basically wishing for, like, oh man, I would love it. But I mean, the Justice League film that's there right now. If he were to break that up, and that were to be something that Zach comes out with, he literally would be a I don't want to say trendsetter, and I don't want to fanboy about it, but he would literally be the first person to really do something that big. I mean, imagine Star Wars being a Star Wars series continuing with Rey and Poe and all of that saga on Disney Plus. No, they're not going to do that. They want to put it in theaters. I get it. Warner Brothers and AT&T have the benefit of going, well, we have this film and we have what's going to happen in theaters already planned.
Yeah, but again, you seem smart. Like if they end up spending 60, 80 to 100 million dollars on this show, why not just make a whole new superhero movie? Because the problem is they already have the Justice League in their catalog. You know what I mean? There is, to play devil's advocate, they have it. And sure, there's an 8-part cool extended series, but I don't know if the rest of America is going to be like that as jazzed as some of the comic book fans are. And it's going to be darker, more complicated. So it's still a roll of the dice. But look, I want to end this clip that we're doing because it's fascinating, and I want to thank you for coming on, speaking so civilly, and potentially changing my mind here. You offered a lot of insight that I respect, I hear, and I can hear and see. Like, well, you know what? Some of this could be valid. I don't know if it is. I'm speculating. I'm trusting Garza on what he's saying, so you can take it as you will. But if there is a behind the scene deal with AT&T to do something to turn it into a series or something, that's a potential, but that obviously would take a couple years easily. So that would also, because I keep trying to get people to give me a timeline of like when's it happening, because there's so many versions of people who think, well, no, it's dropping in May, or no, it's dropping in November, oh, it's already done, and the reality is it's much more complicated than that. And thank you again for reaffirming and confirming it's not done. There's still work he wants to do, and if AT&T is already sort of going behind the scenes to sort of talk to him and get that made, then, good on him. And that would make sense why he's not really sharing more. I wish he would just then shut up and, wait till he can say something. I think the teasing is only creating more division. I really don't think it's helping personally. But I think, for normal fans, it's great. But, there's a lot of hardcore fans that are just taking this, turning it into a war that I wish you'd be careful. But, yeah, quick final thoughts real quick as we wrap up this clip.
Yeah, I will say that it'll probably. I have a confidence that it'll get announced. I'm hoping when he does release Army. So we'll hear about it then, but we probably won't hear about it till then. But the reason why I enjoy him teasing, because at the end of the day, it's his film that technically was butchered to hell, and if he's going to be there, Warner Brothers isn't going to hype it up at all, period. They don't want to hype it up. They want it to go away. So he's doing the exact opposite. He's like, all right, well, if you guys are going to want to go away, I'm going to prove that it's not going to go away because I already got my way. And I'm going to hype it up because it's going to happen. I don't know when, but it's going to happen. I'm going to get it done. And it's going to be the first time in history that something like this happens. And I guarantee you, there's not going to be another studio exec that's going to come in and try to manipulate another director's piece of art just for a bonus check.
No,
that's not going to happen.
Not in this case, especially. His name's all over it. So you're correct on that one for sure. But yeah, it's fascinating to see. I mean, I hear you, and I do want to echo again. Like, yeah, Zack Snyder. I feel bad for what happened to him. I do think they screwed him on that, and I'm fine with him getting his vision. I'm not as passionate as other fans clearly are. But what I was going to say was this idea of just like, yeah, let him do it. Why not? But instead of just teasing it, he's going to have the best mic drop ever when he finally drops it. So it's like that's all he needs to do. The fans will just lose their minds and come at me and everybody else sort of saying, see, we told you. And it's like, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm personally not saying it's not possible. I'm saying Warner Brothers doesn't want to do it. That's what I reported. That's what I stand by. That's this thing I got. But even as I said, and then everyone's like, well, he's changing his opinions. Like, no, I believe it's going to happen. Richard Donner figured out a way to get his cut out. Just because Warner Brothers is saying no right now and it's not happening, and that they're never going to release it, doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. It's not happening anytime soon based off Warner reps. Now, AT&T coming in, interesting loop. So I appreciate you bringing that to our fans' attention, Garza. There you go, guys. I love that we could have this civil conversation and actually have a real. That was fascinating. I like this insight. I'd love to keep in touch with you, man. If you got any other scoops, let's have these conversations. And if you're a DC fan who's watching, who's been hating or not, see, we can do this with nice discourse. So please, let's be a little bit kinder to each other in these comments and just talk it out civilly and not say we're idiots or that we're wrong or we have false information, because that might not be the case. Sometimes there is interesting, conflicting. Two people can be telling the truth. But Garza, thanks so much. Where can people find you, Garza? Go ahead and give yourself a plug.
If you wanted to, man, you can follow me on Twitter at Sir as in a knight. SER_John JON_Aaron ARRYN.
Real Anarchy, YouTube, right there. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, Real Anarchy. Yeah, and also YouTube. I do a lot of videos, and I guess people like to see them. But yeah, same thing. John Aaron Garza, spelled that way. But yeah, I think that if, unfortunately and fortunately, though, again, if nothing comes out. And it's like a month. Fans unfortunately eat themselves. So if there was no teasing or anything like that, it would just be even wilder. It'd be the Wild West.
Yeah, fair point. That's an interesting way to put it. See, people can change my mind. I'm not an unmovable wall. That's a valid reason too. I just think he's got to be more careful about it because he could just say it. He could just say it. Look, we're working on it.
I know, man. I get it. I know. I get it.
Because he can say it without saying it. Like, look, I'm hoping, we're still working things out. I'm hoping it's going to happen. I'll keep you posted. Like, that's just be honest, man. I wish he would just be honest about it. But maybe he can't because AT&T behind the scenes, he doesn't want Warner Brothers to know he's dealing there and things are more complicated. Valid reason. So thank you, Garza, for coming by. Thank you guys for watching this
Yeah,
clip.
thank
We're
you,
going to
Matt.
keep talking over on Twitch. You can follow us at twitch.tv/PopcornPlanet for more. These happen like crazy all the time. And you can watch me fighting with the other fans who didn't handle it nearly as well as Garza in the members only section over on our community tab. If you're a member, go watch that. Man, that was a tough one. I'm sure some people are going to pull that for their Twitters to try and tell me like I'm wrong, but I've blocked them and I don't want to see them or engage with these people anymore because they were not very productive. But Garza, thanks again for watching. If you're not watching or you're just a new member, come subscribe. Got lots more conversations like this. Thanks again, everybody. See you later. Bye-bye.